Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Crafty Chats with me, Gabby. Today, we're going to be talking about what it's like to exist on the internet and in person after the age of 30. So, make sure you grab your project, grab your favorite source of hydration, and let's chat. Now, usually I start the podcast off by letting y'all know what I'm up to, what I'm reading, what I'm watching. I'm going to leave that towards the end today just to see if I like that format a little better. If you like that format, please let me know in the comments. If you don't, please let me know in the comments. I want to make sure that the podcast is something that everyone enjoys, and I'm just playing around with different things to see what fits. Ugh. I also cut my hair. Ta-da! It's a little dirty today, which is why I've put it up. The sun is being weird again. I live in Florida, so it suddenly decided to be cloudy. That happened on the last one. Wow, it got real cloudy. Oh no. Oh, it's coming back. So if the lighting is weird, my apologies. I'll see if I can rig up some kind of lighting next time. I'm new. Sorry, this is my first time creating content. Wow, that's bad. Oh no. Hey, turn on Office? I guess we're gonna do some artificial lighting to supplement. So let's get started. Life after 30. If you are in your 20s, you probably have this thought that it's like, well, yeah, my life is over after the age of 30. I have to be an adult. I have to stop having fun. I have to stop being cool. I have to, grow up. At least that's what I thought when I was in my 20s and my teens. Oh, wow, this person, they're in their 30s. They obviously have it together and they're some kind of adult. No. It's really funny to see kids online being like, oh my God, like they're over 30. Like this is not the kind of behavior for someone so old. Y'all, it really ain't that serious. Like it's never that serious. And I think that as millennials have aged and gotten older, the definition of what is an adult has shifted. And if you look at media from when millennials were growing up, I'm not going to assume that everybody watching is a millennial. I'm going to refer to we as millennials because I am one. If you look at media, aging has changed. And I think that we have some kind of weird little antiquated perception of what being over 30 is. Because back in the day, like if you were over 30, like you were looking kind of haggard. Millennials have aged well. I'm not part of the camp that thinks that millennials don't look their age because I think I look like I'm in my 30s. I do think that we have aged well where we look like we're in our 30s, but we're not looking rough. Because I'll give you an example, and it's something that really like shook me to my core. I had never seen Sex and the City before, and I watched it a couple months ago for the first time. And I remember looking up because I was like, wow, they look old. And yeah, they looked kind of rough. And I'm gonna be honest, like if you look at the cast of Sex and the City in that first season, they looked rough. And the fashion was kind of rough, their makeup was really rough. And I remember Googling them and I was like, what do you mean they were in their early 30s? What do you mean these characters were meant to be in their early 30s, with the exception of Samantha? Girl, that's rough. And we are not aging that way. I think that as things have advanced, and I'm not necessarily talking cosmetic surgeries because not everybody's wanting to do that. I think that a lot of it has to do with awareness on skincare. I personally do not step foot outside of my apartment without sunscreen on. I do my skincare as often as I remember to because I also have ADHD, so it's not always feasible. But we're not aging like the generation before us did. We're really not. And if you're part of the generation before mine, I'm sorry. It definitely has changed. And I think that for some reason, the younger generations like haven't caught on to that. They haven't caught on that your life doesn't end at 30, that you can still be fun, you can still party, you can still do all the fun things that you're doing in your 20s, in your 30s, and sometimes, not always, with more money. With more money and more like emotional maturity. Because I'm a big believer in your brain doesn't fully develop until your mid-20s to even begin with. I stopped fearing my 30s. I'm over halfway into my 30s at this point, and I feel more like myself than I ever did in my teens and my 20s, because there's just like this thing where I stopped caring. And I don't know if everyone feels that way, but I became very comfortable. It's just like, well, yeah, I'm over 30 and that is what it is. But I still like K-pop. I still like watching silly, goofy movies. I still like going to do silly, goofy things. I still like putting on cute makeup and clothes. I haven't decided to get old yet. And I think that the teens and the people in their 20s still have this belief that you turn 30 and all of a sudden you just become an old person. And that's not the case. There's so much growing to do still when you're in your 30s. I don't even think your 30s are the prime of your life. I'm a little concerned about my 40s, but not as concerned as I had been in the past. Like, yeah, 40 plus is getting there to some people. I think, again, like, it's very perspective based. Like, you can choose to get old. You don't choose to age. Everybody who ages is incredibly fortunate because not everyone gets that privilege, but you decide to get old. You're the one who decides to stop keeping up with things and stop caring about trends and like wanting to keep up with what everybody else is up to. And you decide that. I think that you can live into your 90s and never get old if you don't want to. I have chosen to not get old. And I think that as I age, keeping that mentality of like, oh, well, I don't want to be old is very important. I find it interesting that people have this fear of aging and getting old, where I think they're very different things. And if you wanted to these days, you could stop aging. I have always thought like, oh, I'm never going to get Botox. I'm never going to get these cosmetic procedures. But then my first wrinkles showed up and I had a bit of a crisis. But I got over it. I got over it. I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Not everybody gets wrinkles. Not everybody has the privilege of aging enough to get wrinkles. I dye my hair. Don't get me wrong. But I've decided I'm going to try to let the wrinkles exist. They're not obvious apparently to anybody but me, but that's just how it works. And I apologize again that I'm just like so all over the place. It's just how my brain works, but I hope all this kind of makes sense. I think it's funny that we think, oh, well, she's over 30. She surely has the brochures for the retirement home. And I see this a lot, and I don't know how many of y'all like K-pop. I'm going to assume nobody does. I see a lot of ageism there, and that's almost what prompted me to want to talk about that, because for some strange reason, K-pop fans who are younger are under the impression that you're not allowed to like music after the age of like 20. And it's absolutely bonkers to me because at the end of the day, all of those idols, I mean, they've started debuting them younger and younger, but like a lot of the groups that I listen to, the youngest member is 24, 25. That's not a child, you know? And I think it's so crazy that some of these kids will turn around and call me a hag and say that I'm, you know, at my ripe old age, call me a dinosaur because I'm 36 and I still listen to 17 when the oldest member of the group is 30 and I'm only 6 years older. You see a lot of comments that like absolutely flabbergast me. It's just like this huge disconnect. I think it's a disconnect. I think it's a lack of like mental maturity where the kids are like, oh my God, he looks so good for 30. He's a kid. He's entering the prime of his life. What do you mean he looks good for 30? That's weird. And I just like, I think it's a very strange and interesting phenomenon that I don't know if it happens elsewhere in like any other communities. I think K-pop is just fascinating in that sense. The fandoms are so interesting. And it's not just with the male idols, like they'll say things like that about the girls. Like Blackpink is on tour right now. And I saw a video of one of the members, Jisoo, who I think is 30 or 31. She's in her 30s. One of the top comments was like, oh my God, I want to look that good when I'm 30. I was like, baby girl, 30? 30 coming a lot sooner than you think. And you're going to turn 30 and you're going to be like, oh, why do I still feel so cool? I just like, it's so strange to me. And like people tell me that I'm not allowed to like this music because I'm old. A lot of that music ain't even for you. Like if you look at some of the lyrics, if you look at some of the videos, like it's very much not aimed for your 14-year-old self. Like it's very very adult oriented. Like you want to lay claim on members of BTS when you are a literal minor, it's not going to be you, sweetie. That's weird. You know, like there's definitely music that's for teenagers and you know, it's aimed at younger audiences, but a lot of the bigger groups you can tell have also grown up and they want to do more mature things. And it's it's not for kids, and that's fine. Like Sabrina Carpenter, another situation where people for some reason think that you have to be young to enjoy her music when her music is not for kids. It's not for you. Madison, you're 15, sit down. You have no business talking about liking the song Juno. That's weird. I think everything has a time and place, and as you get older, it does not mean that you are old and rotting. It just means that you're no longer 15 and making weird impulsive decisions. I will never understand that. I also think that with crafting, I've noticed a different kind of ageism that kind of threw me for a loop, especially coming from K-pop and like spaces that are typically for younger people and I'm the outlier. With crafting, I was just like, whoa, what do you mean that we're like being mean to younger people who want to craft? How else do you think crafting is going to continue being a thing if we don't teach younger generations to craft? What, huh? It's something I've seen a handful of threads here and there where they refer to crochet and knitting as a granny craft. No, that's weird. I think that's so interesting. And I have seen from older generations talking about how younger kids are ruining crafting and they're ruining the art of knitting and they're ruining the art of crochet by doing all these weird things with their craft. And it's like, I'm sure the Victorian ladies back in the 1800s would think that your weird little sweater is also ruining the craft. Why aren't you making doilies? Like, things are meant to evolve. And how else are they going to evolve if we don't teach our younger generations these crafts? Because otherwise they would have just died in the 1910s when industrialization became a thing and no one needed hand knit things anymore. Where do you, like, weird. And it's such an interesting other end of the spectrum where you will tell someone they're too young to craft. And it's like, why? Like, how else are we going to continue sharing our love for knitting and crochet if we don't teach our kids? I will never in a million years look at someone and go, you're too young to be knitting that sweater. That's weird. Don't do that. Go do something young. Go listen to Cat's Eye, you little whippersnapper. Get off my lawn. You know, it's interesting how I've experienced both ends of the spectrum where I've been both too young for something and too old for something. I don't know. I think that much like what people look like, we really need to stop caring so much about how old people are. I think that as long as you choose not to get old, you can definitely keep doing the things that you love regardless of your age. I work a lot with people and I see this often, and I can tell immediately someone who has chosen to get old versus someone who hasn't. I deal with technology, and you hear a lot of these people, and you would think sometimes it's the really old people, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it's people in their late 40s, people in their early 50s who are technology adverse. And immediately you hear them go, oh, I'm bad with technology. Oh, I'm bad with technology. Oh, I'm bad with apps. I don't want to deal with this. Why is everything online now? Because that's the way of the future, Susan. And you have to keep up with the times or you're going to get left behind. And it makes me so sad to see these people who have just like resigned themselves to not keeping up with the times. And that is what I mean by getting old. Because, like I've said, you don't have a choice in aging. If you are lucky enough to age, you don't have a choice. Your body will age, your face will age. You are going to age if you are fortunate enough to do so. You decide whether, along with that, you also get old. And a lot of these people choose to get old. They plant their feet down and they say, nope, I don't want to learn how to do this. I don't want to learn how any of this works. I don't want to. I don't want to. You get to decide that. Like, you really do. Because things are going to progress and things are going to move forward, whether or not your feet are planted or whether or not you choose to keep walking with everybody else. You don't have to accept everything. And yes, I do think that some things are for younger kids. And I do think that it gets a little weird if you are, you know, trying too hard to like catch up with the kids, and that's how you end up with those really cringy individuals. But I think that as long as you maintain it age appropriate and you're at least aware of it, like, do I go around saying skibbity toilet? No, but I know what that is. I can choose to educate myself and be aware of what that all is. I know it's not for me. Like, I'm aware that some slang isn't for me, some TV shows aren't for me, some music isn't for me, just because, like, I'm not the target demographic. But I'm aware that it exists, and I think that's important. Like, this whole craze with Roblox, like, I don't play Roblox, but I know what it is. And I'm with it. You can choose to still be aware of things. And, like, with these older people, like, the other day I spoke to this man who was 72 years old, and he was having some difficulties navigating our app. And I'll always take a little bit of a deep breath and I'm like, God, this call is probably going to take so long. Like, I've had to explain to an older person what a web browser is, and I've had to explain to them how a URL works. So I'm always like, okay, we're in this for the long haul. And I'll start explaining things. So he's like, yep, I'm here. I got this. He was with it. He knew how to navigate everything, and we solved his issue in like 5 minutes. Whereas it's taken me half an hour because some people literally don't know how to use Google. And that's insane. Like, you have that decision whether or not you want to get old. So if it's after 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, you don't have to get old. You can choose to move along with the times. But anyway, my rant aside, existing after 30 is a weird experience. People genuinely think that you have died at 31. But no, you can still be cool. I didn't get tattoos until after 30. And now I have so many. And I plan to get more. And I'm glad that I'm doing the things that I'm doing in my 30s because I think I wasn't ready in my 20s. And if you're in your 20s and your 30s are a little scary, don't be. I think that I'm the happiest I've been in my 30s because like I said before, I stopped caring about what people had to say. I stopped caring about what I looked like. I stopped caring about how others perceived me. I am out here living my life. And you should too. I think that as long as something makes you happy, you're never too young or too old for it. In conclusion, I think that existing after 30 isn't as scary as it seemed when you were in your teens and your 20s. I think I'm having the most fun I've ever had. I feel like I'm the most myself I've ever been. And I am really leaning into choosing to not get old. And I think that's really helped my perspective on things. I'm happy with where I am, and I'm happy with the things that I've chosen to keep up with. And I think it's important for everyone to be aware of the fact that you will age if you are lucky. You don't have to be old, ever. You can choose to be the 90-year-old who is fun and vibrant and keeping up with the times. You really don't. You don't have to be old, ever. And I'm hoping to not have to be old. I am looking forward to the different stages of my life as long as I'm lucky enough to experience them. And my 40s don't seem as scary as they used to be. And I laugh with my friends because 17 has started enlisting in the military. I'm not going to like super dive into that, but if you're not familiar, Korea is actively at war, so their young men do need to enlist and serve in the military. And there's 13 members in 17, and they won't be a full group of 13 members again until I'm 42. I'm 36 now. They will not be 13 members again until I'm 42. You bet all the money in your bank account that I will be at that concert at 42. 150%. Don't care. Not even a little bit. And I think that that's beautiful. Sure, there's going to be younger kids there, but there's also going to be other 40-year-olds there. And I am very much looking forward to that reunion concert. Just keep doing what makes you happy. Keep being yourself. Keep up with the times. At least be aware of things. You don't have to participate, but you can be aware. As long as something makes you happy, I don't think it has an age, whether that's knitting or your favorite boy group. And that's what I have to say about that. So, to conclude, what I'm up to. That does feel kind of weird. I got used to it being at the beginning, but I hope you enjoyed that chat, however chaotic that was. I still sometimes feel bad at how much I tend to ramble and like jump from topic to topic, but it feels like a conversation. That's how I talk all the time. Like, I don't have a script. I wonder if I should to like keep myself on track, but I feel like that would be less authentic because that's how I talk at all times. Like, this literally what a conversation would be with me would be like. This is what I talk like. So I hope you enjoyed that. To conclude what I'm up to recently, let's just do that real quick. Right? I don't, let me know, because I'm not sure if I like it. Well, we'll see how this does. What am I up to lately? Oh, I finished season 2 of White Lotus. That was a journey. Oh my gosh. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, but I will say that the character death for this season, ouch. It was really good, and it made me want to visit Italy so bad. Oh my god, I wanted to go to Italy so bad. Clarabelle and I were on the couch, we're like, wonder how much a trip to Italy would be right now. It was really good. I love the cinematography. It really makes you want to go there. We started season 3. We didn't get past like the second episode. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'll give it a shot. Let's see. I haven't really been listening to anything other than ATEEZ lately because I'm going to their concert next week, so I wanted to make sure I knew the set list. That's what I'm listening to. I heard part of Lord's new album. It's good, but for some reason I didn't want to go back to it, so I had been really looking forward to that, and I guess I just meh. What am I reading? I am reading Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I am like 10% into it. It's very long, but it's interesting. I love historical fiction, and this has like multiple POVs, and they're all set in different points in history, so I'm digging it. I don't really know what's happening yet because nothing has really happened. I haven't had a lot of time to read. So I'm not like too into it, so I don't really know where it's going. I did finish Sunrise on the Reaping. And I didn't book a therapy appointment because my therapist books out months in advance, but I felt like I needed some therapy. Sunrise on the Reaping, I think it's been a hot minute since I have felt so much. Like, Suzanne Collins is such an amazing writer, and she fully changed the way I see the entire Hunger Games series. What a book, dude. Like, and there's so much lore. There's just so much, and it's really like consumed my brain. Like, it's been a lot. If you read Sunrise on the Reaping, let me know your thoughts. I would love to have an entire conversation about that book. Like, comments down below or in my DMs. Like, that book changed me. That was a lot. And I think I'm being very brave by continuing to read books and not fall into a slump like I want to. I think that would be it for what I'm reading. I wonder, I do kind of want to add a what I'm crafting right now. I have a bunch of projects going on. What I was working on this podcast is a granny square. I am making another granny square cardigan. I finished mine. I don't have photos of it, I'm sorry, but it's really cute, trust me. I'm working on one for Clarabelle. You can see the colors back there. That's what hers is going to be like. It's going to be checkered. That's what I'm working on. I'm also working on a video. I'm working on a vlog where I'm making things for my friends. I'm about halfway through, I'd say. So hopefully that comes out in the next few weeks. Hopefully. And I think that's what I'm crafting. You can let me know what you're reading or watching or listening to. I'm always open for recommendations. You can also just let me know what you're crafting. I'm so nosy. Like, I'm so nosy. If you just want to send me like a picture of your whips, I am so nosy. I want to know everything. So feel free to let me know what you're up to. I am always looking for new books to read. I'm looking for new genres to try. And if anything, we just have a really nice conversation about books and reading, which I'm a big fan of. So tell me your thoughts. Again, I'm sorry this was so discombobulated, but it is who I am. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Let me know your thoughts. If you're over the age of 30, what's your experience been like? If you're under the age of 30, has this kind of changed your mind about getting older? Or are you still freaking out? And if you're freaking out, that's okay. Tell me why. Maybe we can talk about it. And that would be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. If you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate if you did. If you liked my content, I hope to continue to make these podcasts every month. And I do have vlogs that I'm working on, and I'm very excited to continue to make content for everyone. And if you want to leave a like, that could be cool. That could be kind of cool if you just push the like button. Also kind of awesome. You can leave a comment. Like I said, I have so many things I want to talk to y'all about. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. If you want to send me a DM on Instagram, I have all my socials. Feel free on any of them. I don't care. I don't discriminate. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever it is you're up to. Just remember, don't get old. Do something silly goofy. Bye!